So today we are going to be going over 3 hacks that I'm implementing to save time and frustration. One of the phrases that I heard growing up was slow down to speed up. My dad said this all the time because I was such a klutz. And combining that with being in a rush to get things done, and there's always messes and broken things, and so he was telling me this all the time. And then once I got into the world of marketing, I realized just how valuable this advice actually was, because an ounce of planning could actually make a project go a lot smoother and even save a project if you had planned well for it and had a couple of backups ready. So now that I'm into writing full time and growing my author business, this advice has grown exponentially. Planning a little bit, making sure that you have a good foundation in place, saves so much time and frustration, not only in writing, but in building your author business and your author platform. So today I'm going to walk you really quickly through 3 hacks that I'm doing in order to save myself time and frustration and just all that good stuff. So we'll get through this really quickly. So then you can ask me questions if you have them. So one of the first things that I'm doing is outlining. This seems super basic, but it's also something that I wish I had learned a bit more about in my MFA program that I'd gone through. We of course learned different structures and formats and things to do, but we actually really didn't go into how to create an outline all that much. And I've always described myself as a very happy plantser. I like to have kind of a vague idea of what I'm doing, a few key scenes along the way, but really just kind of go into it and fake it till I make it. So I've been doing some webinars, reading different blogs on the subject, and really learning how to plan out my structure in a way that works for me so I don't feel too confined into what I'm doing. But really upping my brainstorming and outlining game is going to save me so many revisions. As you can see, this is really just the first step in the revisions that I'm doing for the Gravediggers Guild, and this is just plot holes and pacing issues. I haven't gotten into issues of character agency, where I missed opportunities to really build up my world and pull in issues of like themes that I wanted to really hit on. All of those were just plot holes and pacing where I didn't have things in the correct order to make things really sing. So by learning more about how to do my outline, I can worry less about some of my really fundamentals and focus more on kind of some of the prettier things. So that'll save me a lot on future works and future projects, whereas right now I'm having to really slow down and back up very far down the road to fix this draft to make it where it'll be enjoyable for everybody. The second thing that I'm focusing on is building out a content schedule. Now this goes back to like my hardcore marketing days, which really aren't so far in the past for me. But I learned pretty early on in the game that spending several days or even a couple of weeks hammering out a content schedule and selecting the tools that I'm going to use will really keep me from floundering for ideas and how to execute them later. And fortunately, this can be done either for free, if you're really willing to spend the time looking for ideas so you don't have to come up with 365 of them, or for really cheap if you're willing to invest in some people who have already come up with ideas for you. So there are plenty of people out there who have already done the work. They're either content managers themselves, or they're authors who have come up with their own content platform that they're willing to sell, that you can personalize. And if you have the funds, I definitely suggest that, so that way you can focus on just getting that into the tools that you want to use instead of sitting there trying to brainstorm your own, because that can get very draining when you just want to focus on the writing. But you definitely also want to have an audience to sell your stories to. So definitely coming up with your content schedule and figuring out how you want that to work for you will just save you a lot of heartburn later. So that way when you want to get your story out into the world, you have a world to get it out into. So I definitely suggest going ahead and thinking through how you want to do that, from your tools to the audience that you want to sell it to what you want to show that audience. So go ahead and be thinking about that and how you want to do that. And then the third thing that I've learned, and I have learned this the hard way, I will say, is starting my day well. Now, this isn't necessarily a hack, but this also comes from my marketing days, because my commute was so long and it could vary so much from day to day, whether school was in or out or not. My commute could be anywhere from 20 minutes one way to 45 minutes to an hour, hour and a half, just depending on how much traffic was on the road. I would have to leave extremely early, and I'm not a morning person. So I was always just, get up, get showered, get out the door. And so I was never pausing to have a good breakfast, get my cup of coffee, start with, a moment to stretch and really focus on being grateful for all that I have in life, because I have been so richly blessed. But now that I'm setting my own pace and my own days, that is something that I've been really focused on, is really starting my morning well and being able to take that deep breath and get focused. Sometimes as a part of that, because I like my desk to be clear, I like the house to be clean-ish. Like if there's something that's really bothering me about my environment, I go ahead and I get things clean and uncluttered. And my desk is not the greatest example of that right now. It's kind of bothering me. After this video, I will probably clean it off. So that way when I do sit down to write, I can come with a clear, focused mind. And that has also been a huge game changer for me, being able to actually control my environment and be in a state of mind that actually is conducive to work for me for once. There's not constant interruptions. There's not just crud all around me all the time that I can't get rid of. I can actually control things a little bit, as much as you can control life. I can, get my desk cleared off. I can get dirty dishes out of the sink. And, I have the freedom to say, hey, I'm going to take 30 minutes and, if there's dirt on the floor, get dirt up off the floor. So learning what works for you and what doesn't, and starting your day well, can be a really powerful tool in your arsenal. If you really just don't feel clear and focused until you've had a big old glass of water, have the big old glass of water. And if you need to stretch to feel your body wake up, just be in tune with what you need and do that. So that's something that I've definitely really leaned into. And so, yeah, that's my 3 hacks that I don't really think of as hacks. They're just kind of life tips. So outlining, creating a content schedule, and starting your day well are the 3 things that I am implementing in my day-to-day life in order to save myself time and frustration. And I hope you enjoy that, and let me know if you're doing something similar. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Thank you.